Welcome everybody to Straight Shooter Wrestling Podcast. I'm one half of your host, Santi, here with Steve, recapping some of the biggest returns of 2022. How you doing, Steve?
It's that time of the year, Santi. How are you doing? Ready for Christmas? I'm fantastic. I think these are like those videos that everyone expects now. And I think we're starting it off with the best one, the returns of 2022, because this was WWE's year of returns, considering the exit of Vince McMahon and all the releases we had at the start of the year. We had some big ones this year, buddy. Like, I think we've got a lot to talk about tonight.
Yeah, I think you put it about as accurate as it can possibly be. It definitely was the year of returns. To be fair, this is also probably the wildest year of professional wrestling in general that I've ever been a part of. Probably since the purchase of WCW has the world of professional wrestling not seen a year with so much wrestling related news, not just in WWE, but of course everything that happened over in AEW and Brawl Out. But that's not what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about returns, all of the people that Triple H brought back, almost a video where we can say I told you so and we told you so, because you can go back to a video that we created all the way back. What was it, like June?
7 months ago,
yeah,
6 months ago,
like
dude.
So long ago.
I think I said it in that video. I said, watch us nail these 100%, and we hit every single one of them.
Literally every single one.
Dexter Loomis being that wild.
Yeah, we hit every single one. Now, I mean, I was wondering, how best to approach this. Should we go chronological order? Should we go from like least exciting to most exciting? And I figure let's go from what I deem to be least exciting to most exciting, so that you people that are watching on YouTube have to give us that watch time, so that you have to stay all the way to the end.
Absolutely.
Let's start off with the one that no one really cares about anymore. It was kind of cool when it first happened, but we just don't care. Ronda Rousey returning during the Women's Royal Rumble and winning the Women's Royal Rumble. I was pretty excited at first about this, but just the return as a whole, and the context behind Ronda Rousey just seeming to not like professional wrestling fans, as I'm here talking shit about her, about her not liking us. It's just one that kind of feels that wasn't very special. It kind of just feels like it felt like a Vince McMahon move, didn't it?
It did feel like a Vince McMahon move. Santi, the only thing I can say to this Ronda Rousey return is, that trending sound on TikTok where everyone's playing the baby violin.
Yeah, the baby violin. Yeah.
That is all I can say about the Ronda Rousey turn. Nobody cares.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, it's easy for us to say nobody cares, but also they booked her with an immediate strong impact by booking her to win the Women's Royal Rumble. A Royal Rumble where, call me crazy, Steve, I think should have been back-to-back W's for Charlotte. I think Charlotte should have just won again that Royal Rumble and cement her as a, we would have hated it, but the thing is that Charlotte is a heel, and a heel that her winning again would have just kind of worked with the story, like the entitledness, the name behind it. Instead, they put somebody that we ended up hating because she's just unlikable, and not in a professional wrestling sense.
I genuinely think they only booked it the way they did is because Charlotte was going to get married. That was it. I really do. I think, you know what? You guys can put this and stitch it and do whatever and make videos out of it. I think Bianca should have had somehow an impact in the Women's Rumble and just given it to her.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Women's Rumble, it's only this low because of the minor impact that it had. No pun intended. But it's so cool that we got to see this. We don't talk about this enough. It's obviously a one-off, but Mickie James returning to that Women's Royal Rumble, that very same one that Ronda Rousey won, holding the Impact Women's strap. That's fucking bonkers. First of all, we love Mickie James. Mickie James is awesome. And the run that she was having up until that point, and still is, over on Impact, it just makes her that much more likable. And of course, she's a very charismatic, but she got to come out in her Impact gear, Impact title, Impact entrance theme. Badass.
Santi, this was the year of the Forbidden Door. Simple as that. The Forbidden Door was trending for all of the start of 2022. It is still being talked about right now going into 2023, considering what's going on to lead into Wrestle Kingdom and everything with New Japan and WWE potentially. This was the year of the Forbidden Door. We made a video of who could be part of said Forbidden Door. The only person that was confirmed was Mickie James, and that's the only person we got. At the end of the day, we saw progress in pro wrestling this year, and it's not all about the biggest name on the block. We can still have great entertainment with those types of people coming over with those titles and saying, hey, we're still relevant, because you guys are, no pun intended, because of Roman, acknowledging us. Mickie James coming out with that title, with her gear, with her entrance was like perfect for what pro wrestling needed this year with the competition between WWE and AEW. I loved it. It is lower on the list just because it wasn't as relevant as needed, but it still needs to be acknowledged.
For sure. And maybe speaking to the next person in terms of relevancy, easily the biggest name on this list. However, they didn't have a match. It was a 1-episode return for his 20th year anniversary. That being said, as of the recording of this video, we are getting his in-ring return for a match before the end of the year to continue his streak of a match every year for the past 20 years. John Cena. I can talk to this one because I feel like you don't want to talk about this, but the John Cena return, if you go back and watch that 20th anniversary episode of Monday Night Raw, like I was grinning ear to ear. We got John Cena have some just phenomenal interactions backstage that just left us frothing at the mouth at the possibility of matches that could be. We got that hilarious segment between him and Elias's younger brother. We got him in Theory, which of course for a while turned the wrestling world upside down. Was that the match that we were going to be getting at SummerSlam? His great interaction with former long-term rival Seth Rollins, and then the cherry on top as he came out to the ring, being more or less being given the red carpet treatment by everyone in the locker room, completely breaking character. Heels were basically bowing at the greatness, clapping, smiling, with the exception of Becky Lynch, which was so on point and perfect. And just having him, his interactions with the people that you could tell he's close with. There's like one hug and embrace that he has with Dolph Ziggler. That's like, I mean, yeah, you kind of forget, like, these guys have been around the block for a really long time now together. But now we're getting them in the ring.
Yeah, I think, Santi, a lot of people forget how long and how many times up and down the road John Cena and Ziggler have spent together. Yeah. How long Ziggler has been around. Like, you know, it's not the same comparison, but Seth Rollins in an interview recently said, I'm never going to be the number one guy because Roman was around. Dolph kind of had that same similar thing. Like, Dolph was always going to be that 5-star performer, but Cena is always going to be that number one guy. Yeah. So it's kind of a similar situation, even though Seth has been put up on his pedestal a little higher. But people need to realize that Dolph and Cena have done a lot together, and it needs to be recognized. So yeah, it was a beautiful moment at that point.
Yeah. And of course we're getting him in that match, which is great. I hope we actually get to, I hope that he gets plenty of in-ring work. He is looking at least 60 pounds smaller. We were talking about that the other day. You can tell, you can tell that the chemistry of the things that he's taken has definitely changed. Let's just say that. Another similar return, but this legend has had his match. Stone Cold Steve Austin. I got to talk about my idol, John Cena, so I'll let you take this one away, Steve.
So if we were going to do this in a top 5 rating, Santi, this is one of my top 5s. Austin returning after 19 years being retired. Yes, we've seen Austin come back and have a couple of interactions since his retirement, but after 19 years against a foe that is Kevin Owens, who does not hold back. For me, Kevin Owens was born 15 years too late. Kevin Owens is Attitude Era 101. And for him to be able to carry a one-man feud up until a week before WrestleMania and just fill it out for himself to challenge Austin basically to a one-on-one confrontation, have Austin come back. They literally sit down for 20 minutes almost, what it felt like, just shooting back and forth in the ring, and then go out and have a 15-20 minute banger. And it looks like Steve Austin has not missed a beat in 19 years. This man took a vertical suplex on concrete after 19 years. This, for me, Santi, you were sitting right next to me and I was salivating at this match. This, for me, should have been night 2 of Mania, but I understand why it couldn't be. But oh my God, Stone Cold returning. It was my childhood. It was my teens. I think everyone appreciated what he put out that night as well. He was able to roll back not even 19 years. He was rolling back right to his prime, and nothing skipped. A man with that much technical knowledge of in-ring prowess and how to tell the story in the ring and just slow it down. Austin's return was so good. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, and it was kind of fitting to have in return. I think some people also forget that Austin was the one who brought us into the Performance Center area, because it was on March 16th of 2020, the first episode of Monday Night Raw on 3/16 day. That was the first episode of Monday Night Raw without an audience, and I think that was the last kind of major appearance that we had from Stone Cold Steve Austin. Obviously, like not as an in-ring performer and taking bumps, but like he's just this ever omnipresent character in the WWE, and it was nice to have him not be a character but be a performer for one more time. And you forgot to mention that the night 2 of WrestleMania, we then got that interaction between him and Vince, which was another awesome callback.
That was kind of the send-off of the Attitude Era, I think. We had Taker getting Taker getting inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. We had the send-off of Vince and Austin's feud. We had the send-off of Triple H at Mania as well. It was kind of the final nail in the coffin for the Attitude Era, and I don't think we need any more. There's been rumors that we could see a potential return for Vince, which you and I will talk about soon, and a potential return for Austin at Mania next year. And it's just like, I don't understand why they would ruin what they wrote this year. It was near perfect. So right now, I think the Attitude Era is done and gone. As an Attitude Era guy, I can respect that. They did fantastic jobs night 1 and night 2. I just think we should just leave it alone at this point. 2022 can end with the Attitude Era, and I'd be completely okay with it.
All right, now let's move on to a gauntlet of returns. And from here on out, with the exception of one that we're going to talk towards the end, these are the quote unquote Triple H era returns. So We'll start off with Dexter Loomis, who came out like honestly just out of nowhere. And it was one of those returns that we predicted kind of just like off the cuff, like, oh yeah, this could happen. And it did. What do you think of this particular return? Because this was one of those few returns out of everybody that we've listed here that was not like red carpet treatment, pyro, shock music. Like, he was just instantly inserted into a very unique storyline that didn't allow for audiences to really have that reaction of, holy shit, Dexter Loomis is back. And maybe it was smart, because I don't think Dexter Loomis would have gotten a holy shit, Dexter Loomis is back, because he wasn't that big of a character to begin with. So I think they did the right move by bringing him back the way that they did.
I'm with you on that 100%. The way they returned Dexter Loomis. And Santi, I remember when you and I sat down and we thought about writing down that list of who the potential returns could be, threw Dexter Loomis in there, and we were like, okay, we're not too sure. We'll talk about it first, type thing. And we'll just like pass it aside. But I remember when he returned, I was so happy, because it was just that one. Like you said, it wasn't a red carpet return, but there is something about Dexter Loomis / Sam Shaw that is just one of those characters that's, you know, he's not really ever going to be in the world title picture, but it's always going to be a compelling storyline just because of his character. This was a phenomenal choice by Triple H to bring him back. The storyline, a lot of people said, has dragged on with The Miz and kind of been a little bit of a roller coaster. But like the Johnny Gargano, Candice LeRae, and Dexter Loomis spots in the back have really carried this. And they brought a lot of NXT up with it, like a lot of the same similar spots, like Candice LeRae dropping an F-bomb almost on Monday Night Raw. She did something similar back in the day in a same sequence. They have really taken both storylines and built them into something great with The Miz. And I'm all for this return, and he'll be around for another 5-8 years and have some unique storylines. If he never holds a title, I don't think that's anything negative to say it against him.
No, I agree. I think he is purely a character worker, as opposed to somebody that really needs to be put in marquee spotlights or anything like that. And there is a place on television for character workers, rather than, you know, necessarily like banging in-ring performances. And I think Dexter Loomis is up there with one of the best character workers that we have in the business, at the very least in the WWE. I mean, you kind of already alluded to it, but let's talk about Dexter Loomis's best man. If we are to go by NXT lore, that would be Johnny Gargano. And I think you and I, we have to not talk about this for an hour, Steve, because we have other people to talk about, but we can talk about this for an hour if we wanted to, because we were there. I'll splice the video of his return where we appeared on the WWE's Instagram page.
Took over WWE's Instagram, dude. I'm sorry, that was where WWE learned about who Straight Shoot was.
That was really funny.
Thanks to our great fans, it wasn't about Gargano. It was you and I yelling at the camera, and just the comments took over, and it had nothing to do with Gargano.
Yeah.
So,
for audio listeners that can't see the video, it's a video of the WWE panning to the audience during Gargano's return, and it's clear as day. Steve and I, like front dead center of the camera, just screaming, losing our absolute minds. And you would expect that the comment section of those posts across social media would be about Gargano and how happy people are, but every fucking comment was, oh my God, that's Straight Shoot. These are the TikTok guys. It's the Guess the Wrestler people. Steve L. And it was like 60% comments about our podcast. And then the rest were, and then 30% Gargano, and then 10% OnlyFans bots in the comment section. Yeah. That's more or less what it was. But yeah,
sorry, Santi. Yeah. I will say our drive up to the show, you and I had a conversation of, like, as a joke, who do you think's going to return? And you and I both said Gargano.
Yeah.
It was one of the weirdest ones, because you and I had not talked about it. It was just like, the only thing that would have made sense, a random return, because there was no build.
Yeah.
And it was like, Gargano would be a great return for the Toronto crowd, because the Toronto crowd knows their wrestling.
Yeah. And I mean, he is a Toronto legend without him being from Toronto, because he has main evented both NXT TakeOver Torontos. While TakeOver Toronto 1, his match wasn't the main event, but like we considered it the main event, DIY versus the Revival. And then TakeOver Toronto 2, the 3 Stages of Hell versus Adam Cole. So the Toronto crowd is very acclimated with the work of Johnny Gargano. We honestly, the reason that we were even just speculating who's returning is because at that time we were spoiled wrestling fans that were getting returns every week, right?
Yeah.
So naturally we're just like, well, what do we get now? We already got Hit Row, we got Karrion Cross, like literally every fucking episode we were getting a return, and this was the only return that we could come up with. Little did we know that we were right, but also just hilarious going back to rewatch that episode of Raw. Dude, they just debuted him and made him return not at the top of the hour.
No, it was just
after
a random
commercial break. Yeah. Just, I'm pretty sure, they probably did a commercial on the Titantron. For those that don't know, if you're at a live show, they usually show like WWE commercials for like, I don't know, their action figures or anything like that. And then like the show comes back on the Titantron. It was probably a commercial for their set of action figures. And then this rebel heart, and it took the audience like a solid 2 seconds to come out of like that. Hey, we just went to go take a piss. I'm ordering peanuts from the peanut guy over here. I'm ordering popcorn. And everyone just took a second to like, huh? Just kind of like turn at the Titantron, like, no. Oh my God, it is Gargano. So that's such a memorable return for us. Obviously, like biased because we were there.
Blessed. We were blessed for that one, man. We were really blessed for just that entire event. Like a lot happened at that event, and we could probably go into it for an hour. But yeah, we were blessed.
Yeah, if you want to know just like how hyped we were, go back to one of our old videos, because Steve did a Monday Night Raw review the day after, and he sounds like a 70-year-old smoker lady because he lost his voice. So
actually, in that return video, you hear my voice break.
Yeah. All right, let's move on here. So next, let's talk about Karrion Cross and Scarlett, a return that still feels underwhelming in terms of what they are planning on doing with Karrion Cross. Obviously, we are super jazzed to have Karrion Cross back, and with Scarlett not in dominatrix sex gimp gear. It's good to have him back and just, the Karrion Cross look with hair this time. We're all happy to have him back. We were all very excited. It's just one of those returns that doesn't seem to have that seems to have lost a bit of the wind in its sails.
See, I thought the wind was lost as the debut happened. We knew, like, for us knowing what the entrance of Karrion Cross was from NXT, the fallen prey, the wings, or the eagle coming through the smoke, you and I knew it was Cross. It feels like a lot of people in the crowd forgot who Karrion Cross was. And when he jumped, it was McIntyre, right? When he jumped McIntyre, there was no reaction. And that was concerning because I was losing my shit. I'm like, yo, yes, because Karrion Cross is a like a main eventer.
Yeah, he's a gem. Like, he's a gem to have in your business.
Exactly. And there was nothing. And yet he's been put into great situations to better his brand with Scarlett, and they're moving slowly, but it feels like he's moving too slow at this point. And he needs something. Get him in with Gunther. Get him in with something to get a feud going, because with Drew being out, they've lost the sales with Cross, and it's starting to affect his brand, and it's concerning. That's the return was concerning, and now the rest of it's concerning because he's not done a lot.
Yeah, and I mean they set him up at the beginning to make us believe that he was going to be an Impact player, obviously attacking Drew, instantly, not instantly, because it took a while for him to have a match with Drew. We didn't get one until Extreme Rules. I remember when we were watching Extreme Rules, the first thing that I said to you is, is this Karrion Cross's first match? Like, we had to find out that like he had a match on SmackDown, like with like I don't even know who it was, right? Like that's how the little buzz Karrion Cross's in-ring return made. And you know, I made the comment back then, and I think it resonates more now. I think that putting Cross in nothing but gimmick matches in his return, right, I think really hurt him. His first marquee match was a strap match. Like that's a match reserved for, you know, your third blood feud match, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I really believe that all of these gimmicks and stipulations to his matches really hurt him, because then I think his next match, was it a steel cage match? Is that what it was?
Or
something like that.
A very underwhelming steel cage match, because I think you and I talked about it. Why in God's name would you put two guys that love to brawl in a match with the stipulation of escaping?
Yeah.
No sense.
No sense at all.
Absolutely not.
No sense, because it encourages cowardry.
Yes.
Right? That's fine. Like, that's fine. And that works with a lot of characters. Like, The Miz is a perfect example of like who you want to have in a steel cage match. Like, that works. But there are heels where cowardice doesn't work. And Roman Reigns is one. Yep. Karrion Cross is another one. Gunther is another one. So like the steel cage stipulation actually damages them, in my opinion. But it is what it is. We'll still, you know, it's still early in the life of Karrion Cross back in the WWE, but hopefully they do something with him soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So next we've got what many feel is the turning point of the WWE, the shift, the first paw print of the Triple H era, which is the return of Bayley and Damage Control, which also included a returning after being let go Dakota Kai, and not a return, but a call up from NXT. We had Io Shirai, now named Io Sky.
Io Sky, yeah. This one, Santi, came out of the woodwork, and even Dakota Kai on outside interviews has said, I wasn't even hired until like 2 hours before the show.
Right.
That girl was anywhere near getting a contract, and Bayley did it all for her. And Bayley's return was, listen, first off, let's start with Bayley. Let's start with Bayley. Bayley's knee injury, coming back from 3 tears in your knee, ACL, MCL, and meniscus, that is one of the hardest injuries in sports to come back from.
Yeah. Like, I think she's one more ACL tear from having to retire. Like, that's how, like, 3 is not a good thing.
No, and the funniest part is you see that in her matches, like even the most recent match she had with Becky, the movements and how methodical she has to be in the ring. You can even see her landing on the other foot all the time. So she's still wary of what she's doing in the ring, and she's had to slow herself down like most wrestlers do after an injury. So I'm so glad she's back, because she's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Simple as that. Bayley, Sasha, Charlotte, Becky, the 4 horsewomen, first ballot Hall of Famers. Her return was perfect. And the return and the double turn with Becky backing Bianca and squaring up was even better, even though we had to lose Becky for a couple of months because of her injury in that match. And then the return of Dakota, which was great, and Io getting a call up. The only thing is, Damage Control has almost felt like it's been on a downhill run since the return.
Yeah. They're giving me early days of Judgment Day vibes. Remember, like how Judgment Day just was kind of fodder for everyone. Like everyone always won their feud against Judgment Day. You know, Judgment Day has turned that around, but that's the vibes that I'm getting with Damage Control these days, unfortunately.
Yeah, and also we always get the poor booking with the women's tag titles. Yeah. It's almost like a curse.
It really is. It's like you don't want to hold those titles really at this point. Like it just seems to be like, you know, it's one of those titles that seems to bring you down in the pecking order. It is what it is. But nonetheless, the return was awesome. The payoff and what's happened afterwards, maybe not so much. Let's talk about a return that kind of just made everybody go, what the fuck? And not even in the, because like, I love Gallows and Anderson, don't get me wrong, but I don't think that they are as big a name in the world of tag teams as somebody like, you know, the Revival or the Briscoes or you know, the oh my god, the Shawn Michaels wannabes. What are their names from AEW? I always forget their name.
It's because they're so irrelevant.
Matt Jackson and whatever the hell. Oh my god, I feel like the elite. Yeah, okay, those guys, right? As I say, they're bigger tag teams, and I can't even remember their names. That's so embarrassing.
Somebody's gonna like lose their shit on us in the comments, but whatever. I don't care.
But yeah, like, so in terms of like a tag team, I don't think everybody was like super excited to have them back, but it was just like super random because one, we kind of thought that they were still an Impact. Anderson was holding a fairly major mid-card title in New Japan Pro Wrestling. It was just fucky.
They're still under a New Japan contract. That's the freaking weird part. They are a part of WWE under a New Japan contract. It is so weird. But I popped for that return. I was very happy for that return because obviously seeing AJ and the OC together is just one of those ones that it's just always gotta be those three, right? And I genuinely love the feud between Judgment Day and the OC. It's something I'm enjoying. It's one of those ones when you're watching Monday Night Raw, you put your phone down and you actually pay attention to the segment. But yeah, what a screwy return. It was one of those ones where you're like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You literally jump on Twitter and you're like, how does this work? Like, what's going on? And why is this happening? Is this a one-off? Is he still holding the title? Did we miss something from New Japan? Like, it was just so all over the place, but a great return nonetheless. And something I think they're going to build right through to Mania and have a really good Fallout feud with Judgment Day.
Yeah. And before people start writing the fake wrestling fans, Young Bucks is their name. We just completely forgot. Anyways,
nobody cares. They'll never be in WWE.
Moving on. So we've talked about the majority of the returns up to this point. We're really just left with what, you know, are the two biggest returns of the year. So let's start off with the one that happened first. So we had Cody Rhodes return at WrestleMania to be Seth Rollins' mystery opponent. Not so mystery because we all kind of knew who that was. I will tell you right now, you know, and I am willing to admit hypocrisy, and I'm willing to admit I'm wrong. I could not have given two singular fucks that Cody Rhodes returned at that moment in time. To me, I just saw him as mid-card fodder. I didn't think he was a big enough draw, a big enough name. I thought that the only reason that we cared was because he was a founding member of AEW. All of these things, I even, like, during the live stream, I'm like, this fucking sucks. All right. Yep, I was just not on board at all with it being Cody Rhodes. You know, hindsight is 2020. Now I look like an idiot, egg on my face, pie on my face, all of those analogies, because Cody Rhodes' return, you know, up until even after the injury, because this man wrestled with a torn pectoral, was sensational. Nothing short of sensational. And I cannot wait to have him back in the business, hopefully at the Royal Rumble. But in the grand scheme of things, this is a pretty mind-blowing return, just knowing the context that this is the man that created, single-handedly more or less, created WWE's biggest competitor and left.
Yeah, man. And I say the same about what you said. I hated it. I hated the fact that it was Cody, because for a split second, I thought it was someone else when the lights went out, and I was like, no, okay, it's Cody Rhodes. But I can say I am so happy that WWE packaged him as the American Nightmare, as the AEW version of Cody Rhodes. They gave him what he built for himself. He brought it to WWE and owned it. Every single match he has had has been over a 4.5-star match. There has not been one match against Seth that has been anywhere near shit. And I'm as over on Cody as you just explained. I don't buy merch for a lot of wrestlers outside of the people that I'm genuine about. I go and buy Cody merch because he fucking deserves it. I'm sorry, Cody. I cannot wait for this man to come back and put on bangers against Seth, against Kevin Owens, against Sami Uso, and against Roman Reigns.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's move on here and wrap this up. The last return, the most anticipated return of the year, the most expertly crafted return of the year, might I also add. If you want to disagree, let me know. With vignettes, with all of these QR codes, the fact that we knew, but we also didn't know who's the White Rabbit. Is it Charlotte Flair? Is it this person? Is it that person? And then we got what we got. And what we got was nothing short of amazing. A repackaged Bray Wyatt that felt familiar and new at the same time. And I don't know how well I can put that into words, because it felt like I was seeing an old friend, but an old friend that had changed enough about him where he was almost unrecognizable.
It's like buying a new car and then buying the same car, but upgrading it to the premium version. And that's exactly what we got with Bray Wyatt. It's like going out and it's almost like his run with the Firefly Funhouse was just a little taste of what we could get from the mind of Bray Wyatt. And now we are getting a full-fledged symphony. And I am loving every single second of it. Santi, you and I had the pleasure. We were sitting in an Airbnb in San Diego, and you and I almost, I think, both like threw something at the TV because they even threw the trademark up and was like, "Show is over." And then it all goes black. And my God, one of our most viewed videos of the year as well. Our reaction video to that was amazing. And once again, thanks to our followers and our supporters. But the only thing I'm concerned about with Bray is we are in a world of people wanting short form content.
Yeah, they want the quick payoff.
Is it taking too long?
Yeah, it is. That being said, I think we are now getting to those payoffs.
Yeah.
Right. So like, Santi and Steve back in November and late October were like, all right, move this along. Come on. But I think we're finally at a place where we're seeing the payoff of everything that they've built. And LA Knight is a fantastic person to have put in this feud. Another return, by the way, but not a return, but a return to fucking form. So glad to have LA Knight back anyways. I would say that it took entirely too long, but we're here now, right? We endured the long commute. We're here, and now I want to see where this goes. Who's Uncle Howdy? Who are all of these potential different characters that are being brought into this universe of the Bray Wyatt faction, the Wyatt Six? I'm all for it now, but I do agree it took too long. But we're at the point where we're now seeing things develop in with relevant steps forward. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, even the Alexa stuff, like on Monday Night Raw, completely separated from Bray Wyatt, has technically nothing to do with Bray Wyatt, and having to pay attention to all the little nuances, like even the other Monday Night Raw we just watched, the placement of Lily.
Yeah, a little like side little look,
subtle placement of Lily, like I didn't catch it. I had to find that on Twitter, and I'm like, damn, I need to pay more attention to what's going on because it's like how perfect this is. It's almost like for Monday Night Raw and the Alexa stuff, Bray is one of the writers.
Yeah.
Because he wants it done in a certain way, and it's perfect.
What I will say with LA Knight, I think part of the reason why I really love his addition to this is, to enjoy the Bray Wyatt character, sometimes you have to play kind of stupid, and so do the characters within the WWE universe. Like Alexa not seeing all of those things in the background, and like the commentators like not acknowledging it, the QR codes that no one seemed to acknowledge on television. Like, really, Adam Pearce, you're gonna tell me that you're just magically holding a mic with a QR code and no one is pointing anything out? That's what I mean, that like it requires people around him to play dumb so that the story can build. But that's why I love the addition of LA Knight, because if you remember the first time that Wyatt 6 logo appears, he's like, what the hell is that? Right? He like kind of broke the fourth wall. Like, finally somebody fucking acknowledges that like shit just shouldn't be appearing like that. So
yeah, he go ahead. Yeah,
I was just gonna say, like, I just love that it's a character grounded in reality, right? Like, there's nothing like gimmicky about him. He's just this like jock that is arrogant and full of himself, being placed in this supernatural storyline. It's awesome.
Well, exactly. And it's virtually like how he came out on SmackDown and started pointing out all the stuff over the 3 weeks. So like the face of Uncle Howdy sitting there, the face of Uncle Howdy sitting there, the QR code flashing there. And then he got beat up every time. And he's like, Bray, how are you saying that this is not you? And Bray's just like, it's not me, So it's great to have a guy, like you said, like to break that proverbial fourth wall and really help carry this storyline. I don't know, unless we talk Kevin Owens or Seth Rollins, anyone has that mind for a storyline to help build something with Bray Wyatt like LA Knight is doing. So a lot of people really have to give that respect to LA Knight, but like we're also talking about the Bray Wyatt return right now. And I think we're even in for another 3 or 4 months right up to WrestleMania until we get the whole Wyatt 6. Yeah. Fine with.
So let's wrap this up, Steve. If I'm putting you too much on the spot, let me know and I can go first. Predict a return in 2023.
Oh God. Return in 2023. Give me I've seen so many rumors, and I would have said Bronson Reed, but he just returned. I'm just gonna take the high road. I'm gonna say The Rock.
I mean, that's not a high road. That's a fucking that is the galactic road. That's how high road that is. It's like the return. I'll toss out Matt Cardona, but when I say Matt Cardona, I want Matt Cardona. I want Matt Cardona. If they want to give him the name Zack Ryder for trademark purposes, whatever. Like, do your thing. I'm not the business guy in the WWE, but I mean Cardona. The character that he's been playing. I want him and Chelsea Green. Like, I want that, right? I want that. Like, the guy that does, like, that isn't capable of reading the room. The guy that is so arrogant that he goes to GCW and calls himself the Deathmatch King. That is what I want back. I don't care about the name. The name can be anything. I just want that guy.
Yeah, you want that character. It doesn't matter what the label is. Speaking of Chelsea Green, massive rumor, and I know it doesn't matter when this video airs, massive rumor that she is the #1 pick to return to lead Toxic Attraction to the main roster.
Now, what are your thoughts about potentially, if Chelsea Green is in, let's say, the Royal Rumble? Call me crazy. I don't think we should have Cardona in the men's Royal Rumble. I think we should have Cardona interfere and eliminate some women in the women's Royal Rumble to help Chelsea Green. That again, I just feel like that fits the Cardona and Chelsea Green toxic duo together more.
I get that. It's the Joker and Harley Quinn relationship that they have. But if that kind of thing happens, and if WWE books it, you're getting a James Ellsworth and Carmella situation, and it would actually bury Cardona faster than he can crawl out of that hole.
Oh,
so
come on.
No.
You did not just put Cardona and James Ellsworth in the same dude.
No, you did.
No.
No.
I simply provided a booking situation that somebody like Cardona could get over, unlike James Ellsworth, is what I'm saying.
And no disrespect to Ellsworth. He's actually a fan of the podcast, so no disrespect.
Steve, where can people find you?
Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch at Mr. Tesh. Guys, I am back in 2023 with all platforms, taking a little bit of a break. Santi, what about yourself?
Yeah, all my links will be down there as well. You can find me over on my personal TikTok, my personal YouTube, and personal Twitch page as well. I believe they are all a variation of Santi Zamp or Mr. Santi Zamp. So yeah, just look those up on those platforms. Thank you very much for listening and watching this episode of Straight Shooter Wrestling Podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, please consider subscribing, leaving a like, etc. All that stuff that helps us with the YouTube algorithm. Be good people. If you're watching this before the new year, Happy New Year. If you're watching this before Christmas, Merry Christmas. If you're watching this, I don't know, before a Thursday, Happy Thursday Night Football, whatever the hell it is that you want to celebrate. Cheers.